Welcome back to Tu-Vie. We're going to be talking about episode 3 of Moon Knight. This is your spoiler warning for the third episode. If you haven't seen it, go check it out now. It's a fantastic episode, but from here on forward, all spoilers. In the beginning of this episode, we see Layla trying to make a fake passport with the resources that her mom provides, which was kind of a fun thing to see in the beginning of the episode, and her kind of talking about the missions that she's been on with Mark. She's on the hunt for Mark yet again after his disappearance the second time. First time was when they reunited in the second episode after he was apparently been missing for a few months. Then after the whole title card intro, we see Arthur Hara with the Scarab finding Amet's tomb, because we saw in the second episode that little scarab, when opened, is actually a compass to Amet's tomb, and Arthur's goal is to release her from said tomb. We then see Mark searching down some people for information regarding Amet's tomb and its location. We got to see a little bit of the Mark Spector mercenary fighting. I thought that was kind of neat, and how he kind of showed resistance to that kid when he was about to punch him, but slaps him because he knows he's just a little kid. During the fight itself, then when Mark is about to try and get information and puts a knife to a man's throat, Steven comes in and says, "Don't do it, Mark," and actually starts to interfere with Mark's work. And then they go do the whole glitching thing, and he ends up in a taxi. I've stated this in other episodes where I believe that Steven and Mark are going to have a conflict between them because they both have two moral views, that Steven's kind of like a pacifist and Mark is, of course, a mercenary, so he has a violent side. And I think that's what the whole deal was regarding, where since Steven is a whole different person and doesn't have that side to him that can release this violence and get information from it, that it's going to interfere kind of with the whole, thing with Khonshu, what he said in the second episode. But I have also stated that it's going to be in the way of how Mark works. Mark gets out of the taxi and sees the people he was actually trying to hunt down, coincidentally. He hunts them down, gets the information, but then the personalities switch again. But this time, neither Steve or Mark knows what happened. They end up somewhere on a mountain next to some kind of old rundown home, but neither knows how all of them end up dead. They don't know. Their memories kind of spaced. Even though that one person's taking the body, they can kind of view what's going on through mirrors, which brings me to this point. I'm thinking that in the next episode, or maybe just before the end of the season, we're going to see the third personality, Jake Lockley. Now, Moon Knight fans know a lot about the third personalities, but for those who don't, there are commonly 3 personalities when it comes to the Moon Knight character. There's Mark Spector, who's the mercenary who typically dons the Moon Knight persona. Then there's Stephen Grant, the other personality who we've seen a lot of. And this one, Jake Lockley, who we've only had hints in this episode up until now, but past then we've heard nothing about it, and we just only assumed there was going to be 2. Now, I did do a TikTok over this regarding the Tropical Joe's translation TikTok that he did with the interview at the Moon Knight premiere that Oscar Isaac had, which was in Spanish. So if you guys are interested, go check out that video on Chocolate Joe's account. It's a really, really fun video. Does a lot of great stuff. Khonshu and Mark have a discussion over how to find Amet's tomb without the information, since all the people that they were trying to get information from are dead, and have one last option: to talk to the gods. Now we know from the second episode that Khonshu is banished from the gods. He's laughed at, he's mocked, he's a weaker god in their opinion. So they do a pretty wild thing by causing an eclipse to get the gods' attention, which then summons them and their avatars. And this is where it kind of got a little interesting for me, because I didn't think that there would be something like this. Seeing the Ennead and their avatars would be happening. I thought it'd just be kind of something that's referenced, or maybe some kind of distant thing, like a floating head kind of thing. But no, this was kind of front and center, and I liked it. I liked the whole trial of the gods and how Khonshu is kind of on the last, straw with these people. The whole point of why they did the eclipse and get the god's attention to cause the trial was to put Arthur on trial for releasing Amet from her tomb, which we all know is Arthur's goal. But when it comes to the trial, Arthur acts the all innocent, and the gods think Khonshu's lying. I did like finally getting to meet the avatars of the gods and how to communicate with each other. The gods possess their avatars and speak through them, like how Mark was getting possessed through Khonshu, and the other gods were speaking back and forth. In the Great Pyramids of Giza, where the trial was held, and in the moment where Mark is walking in, there's a little reflection on the walls. Steven's geeking out and freaking out that he's in the Great Pyramid, because he has a fascination with this stuff, and seeing that little moment of wonder with him is very fun to see, because Mark and Steven at this point have had just a lot of troubles, and getting Steven this moment of joy after kind of missing out on the date, getting that goldfish that he knew wasn't Gus, and losing his job and just being mistreated is a very big relief, seeing that character smile for change. Here's the thing about the avatars that's got me curious, is that some of them came in with suits, and that could mean easily that they're business people, but my theory about it is that they're a lot more important than that. That maybe some of the gods are using their avatars for their own personal benefit. That when they have these avatars at the palm of their hand, they're using it to control our world, affect our reality, and maybe causing some global disasters. Now, I'm not saying it is happening. It's just a kind of interesting theory how if there are certain gods that have certain views on things, like one for music and love, then there has to be one that may have a certain hatred towards the world, or maybe a certain goal that could be affecting us. But using their avatar, they're just doing what they want to do. Kind of how Khonsu is using Mark to carry out his plan to stop Ammit, and how Arthur is being used by Ammit to carry out her plan. Now, of course, like I said, it's a wild theory, but I'm not 100% certain about it, but I would like to see that kind of be talked about a little bit. Once the trial was over and the avatars went on their way, one stuck around. Like I've been saying, the goddess of music and love helps out Mark. As we know that the scarab is used as a compass towards Ammit's tomb, there was practically no other way to know, but apparently there's another way. Mark speaks with the avatar of the goddess of music and love and says that there is another item in a sarcophagus that can help you find the tomb. The item itself is a map of constellations leading to the tomb, and the sarcophagus is with the item. It's inside with the body buried with it. But both the sarcophagus and the item with it have been sold on the black market to a dealer. So Mark starts his journey on trying to find the item and runs into Layla. Layla and him talk about their mission and what's going on, and now agree to go find this item together. They track the item to a black market dealer and they find his location and actually try and speak with him. Layla and Mark, of course, have fake identities in order to speak with the man and see the artifact very close hand. They get to the sarcophagus, they open it, and they cannot read the map because they don't know how to read that stuff. So Layla goes out of the little kind of Louvre pyramid glass thing, and Mark and Steven have a conversation about what the map is saying. Of course, no one knows about Mark and his personality, so when they see Mark speaking to Steven through glass and the mirror and everything, it starts to raise suspicion. They attempt to steal the artifact, but then, of course, our villain, Arthur Harrow, has to ruin everything. Guns are drawn on Mark and Layla for being exposed and on who they say they are, and the black market dealer is actually given another opportunity to trade said artifact of the map with something better, the scarab, which for Arthur is considered useless because he already found the tomb. They're starting to dig it up, and there's no point in having it, so he's trying to use it as his bargaining chip. Arthur starts speaking the language he says when he wants cool mythic stuff to happen, and the item itself is torn in two. Summon the suit was said many times because that is the coolest way to get Moon Knight to appear, and of course, Moon Knight does appear. I like the way they opened with Moon Knight in the beginning of this fight. He does that small jump with the cape, kind of in the shape of a crescent moon. And I really thought they were going to be remaking that cover of Moon Knight where he is jumping from a building and the cape is like that, and it kind of completes the moon that's behind him. It's one of my favorite comic book covers. And I thought they'd be doing that, but they didn't. So I'm not that happy about it. But I was still really cool to see this fight go down. Moon Knight does this amazing fight choreography that feels kind of fluid like the Kingsman, but he's throwing his crescent darts. He's beat the crap out of these guys, and the fight itself just felt super earned, and it was great. It wasn't rushed. It was perfect. We also got to see a little bit more of the usefulness of the protective armor of Khonsu, where he was getting impaled by these spears multiple times, but left no marks and didn't even kill him or scratch him. I forgot how useful that suit was, and kind of knowing that he can get up and move around with 4 spears, and it was just super cool to see him kind of break it off and then start beating the other people with it was just a fantastic fight. I did like the joke where in the middle of the fight, Steven's like, oh, let me take control of the body, and they go from the Moon Knight to the Mr. Knight suit, and feels like he's trying to calm everybody down. He's like, let's just take a minute, and then he gets stabbed and he goes, take the body, and then go back to the Moon Knight fight. It was so great to see. I like how they're dealing with this comedy as well as the dark vibe with this show. It does a really good job balancing it. I feel like Marvel does a really good job at that, and I'm just super excited to see the rest of this. After the fight ends, they grab the remaining pieces of said item and they go to the desert. Mark gives the body to Steven. He reads the map, folds it into the specific item, and reads the constellation, but it's no longer found, the constellation. So Steven and Khonsu have one last thing to do. They move the stars 2,000 years from when that map was made to the constellation that was then, and change it in order to find Ammit's tomb. Now, remember, like we said, the gods are on their last straw with Khonsu, and they said that if you interfere with the world again, we will turn you to stone, kind of like a punishment for pushing your limit. So what do? Exactly that. But Khonsu makes the great sacrifice for the group in order to stop Ammit, and gave up sort of his life and was turned to stone by turning the stars and giving Mark and Layla the way to get there. And it was the most beautiful shot, I say, of this show, and I would argue just the MCU. Seeing the stars move and everything with it just looks so visually beautiful. And I saw that in the trailer, and I was so excited to see that in the show, and I was hoping it would be in the first episode, and then it wasn't. The second episode, then it wasn't. And I'm so glad it was in this one, because it felt right. It didn't feel some kind of like weird mystic power. It felt very pleasant to see Steven and Khonsu and just work together to get this event happened, and it was just so perfect. It was great seeing Khonsu and Steven do this power together and work together for a change. It was just the most beautiful shot in the MCU. I stand by that. Of course, Khonsu gives his life, like I said, and at the last second he said, tell Mark to come and save me. Then he turns the stone, and none other than Arthur is there to grab the statue. The one person that Arthur feared is finally gone, and Arthur has nothing left to be stopped with. Then the episode ends, but I'm left with these burning questions. Can Mark still summon the suit without Khonsu? Is it a part of him, or is it because of Khonsu that he can still do these things? Are we ever going to see Jake Lockley? Are we ever going to see that third personality come out, or is it maybe just a hint for maybe a second season? I hope really in the bottom of my heart we don't, because I feel like this season is great as it is and they can tell the full story here, but I do hope we get Jake Lockley in some way. And are the other gods up to no good? Are they okay? Are they really doing nothing? Was it just a really fun cameo, or are they going to come back in a very big way? We may never know, but I do hope we do get some answer soon. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please click the like button and subscribe for more, because I love doing these videos and I hope you guys enjoy watching them. As well as click the bell for notifications, so for when I post, you guys know. Be sure to follow us on social media on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. On TikTok, we do a fun little weekly game called the Random Movie Quote Quiz, where I give you a quote, you tell me what movie it's from, and the first one to put in the comments wins. Be sure to also check us out on Spotify and everywhere else you get podcasts. We have a new episode coming out very soon. We recorded just recently, so be sure to stick around for that. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you again for watching, and as always, welcome to Tu-Vie.